Hear Me See Me podcast is sponsored by Zenoti, the #1 cloud software for salons and spas. Because when people feel good, they find their greatness. I am Stuart Roberts, and I'm really excited to introduce my new podcast, Hear Me See Me. It's just over 5 years ago, I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them it is their job. I had this idea after being inspired by a guy in America I'd seen cutting hair on the streets and seeing the difference it made to the guys who were there. This is more than a job. This is a calling. Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast. Today I've got someone who's started as an acquaintance. She's become a friend of mine. We met when she asked me to come along and do a haircuts for homeless session at a wonderful outreach. So today I'm talking to Marie Edmonds. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for giving up. I've dragged Marie out on a Sunday evening, and she said it's only because she's come and done it, because Sunday evenings are sacred.
Anyone else would have got a flat no.
Flat no, right. Well, I appreciate it. My wife weren't too happy either, but I've left her watching Celebrity from last night. Right, so we'll go to the beginning. We'll start off with how we met, because through a friend, you reached out to me about coming to do some hair at the outreach. And we did one session in the summer, which I really liked, at your drop-in place. Yeah. And then you organised this really great outdoor event, like Ladies Pamper Day, and we came along for that, which was very hectic because I had no volunteers turn up. I think I had a queue of about 30. I managed about 20, and then I ran out of time. But it was a great day, wasn't it, that one?
Yeah, it was. It was a bit special.
Yeah.
I think there was over 150 people turned up that day.
Was there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I don't doubt it. It was baking hot day, wasn't it? I was sweating. I was in the front car park, and I was like Edward Scissorhands. It was fucking air frying everywhere, wasn't it? So, yeah. But I wanted to say, because people like to hear stories about people. This podcast is about that. It's about special people. And even I've not heard your full story, so I'm really intrigued. Take me right back to the beginning. Give me your story.
So before I share a bit of my past, I don't justify or blame my using on any life experiences that happened to me. I believe I've become an addict because of, don't get me wrong, there were rhymes and reasons, and there was pain I was trying to numb. And I'm accountable, and I'm by no means a victim of my past, Stuart. I'm very much a survivor. So my dad left when I was 4. Now, I believe in the seeds of addiction being planted for us when we were children. For most people I know who suffered from alcoholism or addiction, I'm not saying all. And my dad left when I was 4, and from then I always felt very different. I felt like there was something wrong with me, and I became very needy and I became very clingy. My mum suffers from alcoholism, so the alcohol would get in the way of her being able to hug us, love us, like in a bedroom in blackout. And if we tried to go in there, we'd get told to get out. So there's that rejection. And we used to get sent to school. We was neglected through our alcoholism. And that was very apparent to other children as well. So I felt like a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. It was very apparent that things were different for us at home. And with that, abusers came into the home. There was sexual, mental, emotional abuse that went on, and I started to steal food, and I used to eat it and keep it a secret. So my primary addiction was food. I used to feel, the first time I was took home by the police, I was 8 years old, and that's the first bit of shame I can remember properly feeling. But it weren't even my shame to carry. And then from that, my mother always used to say to me, "What is wrong with you?" And she'd go through periods of getting sober with no help from anyone. So she was very much a dry drunk. But don't get me wrong, I love my mum dearly, and she suffers from the same thing I suffer with. By the time I was 13, I'd picked up my first drink on the Southend seafront. My first drug was acid, and I had undiagnosed borderline personality disorder. And this stuff made me feel better for a little while. I was all right for a little while. Didn't last long, and I felt better, and I felt like I could function, and I just became... They couldn't manage me, so I went through a period of foster care. By the time I was 15, I was pregnant, and I hid my pregnancy from the world. Nobody knew I was pregnant. I was very good at keeping secrets, and in that process, I went back home. When I did have my boy, my mum was very good with me, actually. She got all the, she went round all her friends, got all the stuff, and I tried so hard to love and care for this baby, but I hadn't been loved and nurtured that well. Don't get me wrong, there were periods when my mum did, to the best of her ability, really try, but I didn't know how to love or nurture this baby. So between me and my mum, we agreed that when I was 16, I would leave home, and I was sofa surfing and in and out of hospital from 16, and really romantically met my my husband in a criminal justice hospital. He'd just come out of prison. You can't make this stuff up. And he gave me my first bit of heroin. And for years, that man got the blame. It was his fault. It was hellfire and condemnation. It's not his fault. I've got this disease that I live with. If it weren't him, I'd have found it some other way. And it just took everything, all that pain. Everything was gone. And again, that worked for a little while. And I had 2 other children in that process. And then he got quite a long prison sentence around him, and I was going up and down to all these different jails across the country. And I was so codependent. So I used to ring up the jail. He didn't ring me, so I couldn't get him to ring me. So my disease manifests in many different forms. So I was trying to manage this drug habit, trying to keep his in prison, trying to look after these children, and that I was getting rapidly into debt. And today they call it cookering.
Right.
Back then, in 1999, it just didn't have a label.
Yeah.
So dealers took over my house to pay off this debt. They wanted to sell. I was 18 years old with 2 children. I was very vulnerable. At the time, I wouldn't have seen that. So I turned to prostitution. There was a red light area around the back of my house in Southend.
Yeah.
The only way I could see out of it was selling myself. And as I was walking, it's so surreal when I think about it. It's like something from a film, and I can still disassociate with it today. I can remember walking onto that red light area and thinking, well, it don't matter anyway, because he's already taken it from me. And I was thinking about my abuser from when I was little, and it's just, it's like, honestly, it's like a film in my head. And I just went out of control. I had access to money, obviously, every night, and I smashed myself to pieces. And my children were removed from my care, quite rightly. I wish my children were removed from my care quicker, if I'm honest, because the guilt and shame of losing them children almost killed me. I went in when I thought rock bottom, couldn't go any lower, but every time rock bottom had a trap door, every other time just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I was in and out of prison. I weren't in prison, I was on the red light. It was just a cycle of addiction. Then homelessness kicked in. But I was the type of, I was quite a resourceful drug addict. So even though I didn't have a tenancy or a roof over my head, I'd pay someone to sleep on their sofa. I never actually hit a night on the streets, luckily. And it was just this cycle, Stuart, of pain, carnage. And I didn't care who I hurt to get my drugs. And with me as well, I used to oblivion. And in the end, those drugs stopped working, so I picked up alcohol. And alcohol is worse than any bit of crack cocaine I've taken. Any drug in alcohol is the worst than all of it. It took me to some internal spiritual decay that sometimes I can never put into words. I swear I see the devil. I don't want to go back there. And in 2014, I went off to a treatment centre. They successfully detoxed me off the alcohol and I left and I got clean. And I was still really angry. For the first 3 years of my recovery, I was really, really angry. And I couldn't work out what was going on with me. I didn't get it. You know, people couldn't hug me. People couldn't come near me. Like oversensitive to everything. I felt like everything was an attack. And I struggled to maintain friendships. So I went and see a mental health professional and I got a diagnosis of complex PTSD, along with the borderline personality disorder. When I got them, I was so relieved because I really thought it was, yes, I've got a Marie problem, but I just thought I weren't a very nice person, but now I had something to work with. Now I've got these diagnoses, those two diagnoses, the healing could begin. And I've sat in a lot of intense therapy. I've done a lot of EMDR. I've gone off to a lot of retreats, trauma retreats. I've done a lot of research, and I've done a lot of healing. But this is where it comes to aspirations. I believe that everyone says, "Oh, you're so wonderful. You set up this project. You go and help the women." It gives me more. Them women give me more than what I could ever give them. Makes me really emotional. Yeah. Like, you can't put a price on it. You can't. Like that day you come in, like, they were coming in there, they didn't touch you, I don't want him touching me. Do you know what I mean? But with a bit of gentle encouragement, we built that trust up. It's okay. And that's because of the trauma they've been through with men because of how they earn their money. You know, so a bit of reassurance. Like, them women walked out of there looking like completely different women. Do you know what I mean? They had smiles on their faces, beautiful haircuts. You know, that is priceless. You can't put a price on that. You know, and the job in is my biggest thing, of course it is, because I do outreach onto the red light area that I used to work on. And you do hear of women exit, but you don't hear of many women going to do outreach back on the corner they used to stand on. Or if there's women I do know that have worked in services, the same as mine, outreach services, and their lived experience, they don't last that long. I've done this nearly 2 years now, and there have been some points where I'm like, this is hard work, but I just keep going, just keep plodding. And yeah, as I said, the women's service is like my most precious thing. I love them women dearly. But also the day program where people are coming to us a couple of days clean, and they're staying and they're graduating and going off to college. Then they're coming back and telling me they've got work. and they're working.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind. Like, and we've got the family support bit as well. Do you know what I mean? I don't forget my family members. Don't forget the people I hurt. Yes, my mum hurt me, but I hurt her as well. She's drove past me when I've been stood on that red light area. No mother wants to see their daughter stood on the corner selling herself for the price of a frigging Happy Meal. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it's my it's all different parts of amends that I make. These projects, I don't have much involvement with the family support, but I created it, I set it up. It was my idea. And it's nice just to give family members that space.
Yeah.
The space to go in Southend where people can just go, feel welcomed, feel comfortable. But it gives me, I can't vocalise what it gives me. The healing process. I don't walk around angry no more. Or if I do get feeling angry because I'm absolutely exhausted, don't act out on that anger. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I get that.
I can feel anger today without it having to come out like a bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done so much to me. I can't and all that has come from my pain. There's not an ounce of my pain that's been wasted. It's all been used for good.
Yeah.
Every single drop of it. People do say to me, do you regret your past? Absolutely. Absolutely regret it. I hurt a lot of people in that process.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for the lessons, and I'm grateful that it can help others.
I think I was smiling and that. I was obviously not. I didn't think it was funny. I was just smiling because I was associating with it when you said people. The first thing you said was when you said people say what a lovely person you are for doing all this, and they don't understand. But I did, and that's why I was smiling because people say it about me, and they go, "Oh, what a lovely bloke." My kids go, "Cool, if I ain't bloody knew you, miserable old git you up." And the thing is, it is. I mean, I don't know about you, but I knew how much this meant to me when it was taken away. Those sort of 4 months, that second lockdown got me. That the first one, I was shitting myself like everyone else. I was thinking, oh my God, what, is the world ending and all that. By then we realised it wasn't. But when they shut us down and I couldn't go out and I couldn't do we just couldn't cut the hair then. And I couldn't do anything. And I have really struggled. I struggled and I realised I realised then how much this helps me, and I know it will you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where, so I'd started setting up the day programme before lockdown, and it was always in the vision to do the outreach. It was always there. I always wanted to do something for the women. And when we went into lockdown, I knew that we was going to lose everything, all the work I'd done. So that's why I started the outreach.
When I went to the outreach for the women, you say about the red light districts and the working women, and I've learned a lot over this last couple of years, because I've been doing this 7 years, but probably the last 3 years it's evolved into going to more places and working with street working girls and getting an understanding of it more. What's your view on what's your view on sex work then? What because it raises so many different,
That's a good question, and I do get asked this question a lot. So, as a trauma survivor and someone who has been seriously impacted by sex work, so I really struggle to have intimate relationships with men. I've had 2 relationships in recovery, and they've just been train wrecks. Not because of defects of character, because I just can't let people close to me, and it's my sexual trauma. And there's still a lot of work being done there. And these 2 men loved me dearly, and they tried and they persevered. And when I'm having flashbacks or freaking out, and screaming at them and storming out because they've touched me. They've gone to show me affection and they can't. So my views on it is I feel very sad for women that believe they do it as work because there's other ways to earn money. I emphasise and understand why they do it. So you've got people in a really rubbish benefit system, and the only way they can see themselves, survival sex it's called. I feel sad for them because there's other ways, and I don't think they realise the harms they're causing themselves. I don't believe one woman who's got an addiction problem goes and does that by choice, because I've lost jobs in recovery. I've been flat broke skin, and not once has it gone through my head to go up there and sell myself. Not once. I've had my kids on at me for money when I've lost work. Not once has it crossed my thinking. I believe it's exploitation. I don't view it as work. When I'm in a professional setting, I will say women that sell sex. So I don't view it as work.
It's just only because there's so, with the advent of things like OnlyFans and, you know, and I know that's not sex work, that's something sort of, you know, like it's not physically selling yourself, but then there's an element of, you know, do you still sell a piece of yourself? Even if it's not physical contact, so you're selling a little bit of yourself. I just I wonder where it's all going with that.
OnlyFans, I'm really not a fan. Really not. No. I think you just said it. Every time there's an exchange like that, it's seedy. It's seedy. There's nothing glamorous about it. You see it for what it is. It's seedy.
Yeah.
You are selling a part of your soul. And that's why I ended up thinking I was seeing the devil in the mirror, because I'd sold my soul.
Yeah. Now let's be positive about this, because there's something I find that when I work in because yours is not the only one I go to, and we go to this wonderful place in Peterborough, and I've worked. You know, we have a whole session and it'd be girls from the street, and they come, and there's something like this camaraderie they've got. You know, this sort of brave, wonderful humour that, and I tell you what happens with particularly our sessions that we bring to it, is that they're very guarded, and they're very, you know, and understandably they've got a very, very harsh exterior, you know, and they're very sort of almost aggressive and you know, and guarded, and then we get there, and as gradually it increases and more people having their hair done, and gradually there may be a bit of music going, and then all of a sudden they're like, and a lot of these are young girls, they're like my daughter's ages. That's what, you know, to me they're like, these are kids. I mean, I'm an old git, but these are kids, you know, these are just kids. And all of a sudden you hear the mood lift and the laughter, and it's almost like an atmosphere of like a party or a hen party or a pre-drinks, and you know, and yet, to me you then see their authentic self come out. Yeah. You then see the person that's underneath all that come out, and I think it's such a privilege to be part of that. But then there was one recently this year that my sister saw more than I did. And this is one that my sister took home. This is the one that the journey home in the car that she carried with her was this, and she was a very, very attractive, not a match, I suppose, but a very attractive young woman came, you know, and she'd been, and we done her hair and she looked great, you know, like we'd done all her hair and she looked beautiful, and she sat and had a coffee and they gave her a sandwich, and then she was in no rush to leave, so we was doing other people, and then she's sitting there, and my sister said she kept looking over to her and she looked so tired. She said she's never seen a woman look so, even though we made her look good physically, she said she's never seen someone look so tired. And she gradually relaxed, and she looked like she could fall asleep at the table. Then all of a sudden the text came, and you see her whole demeanour change. She had to go, you know. And people need to know this. You know, it isn't fucking Pretty Woman.
I hate that film.
Yeah, it's not fucking Pretty Woman. It's like this. This is this. You know, like the power that other person might have on this human being to change, to show that fear. Like one text message, the whole body language changes. You know, I'm just so glad we can just bring even an hour's respite. You know.
I'm grateful for that too. And we do have women come into our service and they would just lay down on the sofa and go to sleep because they feel safe in there.
Mm.
They feel safe. They're coming, they'll have a cup of coffee. And these are some of the most entrenched women. And that defensiveness and that's a trauma response. They're in constant fight mode. They have to be. They're so hypervigilant. These women risk their lives night in, night out. Night in, night out. And the heartbreaking thing of it is they're numbing the pain from the perpetrator. I have never, ever met a woman who sells sex that hasn't been through some kind of sexual or physical abuse. So they're numbing the pain. And I've really tried to break this down with our community as well to get them the amount of residents meetings I've attended. And don't get me wrong, I completely empathise with the residents, yeah. I think the world of my women, but I wouldn't want one of them stood outside my house creating a noise. And, you know, and I empathise and I do understand, and they have children, you know, people get a bit shocked when I say, these women deserve nothing but kindness and respect when they walk into a room. What they go through in a day, people would die at the first hour. Do you know what I mean? It's painful. It's a really painful life that they live. We have exited one woman, though, I'm very pleased to say. She's now 32 days off street drugs. You did cut her hair as well, but I won't say it.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but I will tell you. And she's just got her own flat. And today she sent me all photos of a really nice flat.
Lovely.
2 months ago, she was rough sleeping.
Yeah.
She hasn't been on the red light area for 2 months.
Brilliant.
Doing really well.
Yeah.
Early doors, very early doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, because life happens. Life throws things at us, and you know, you never know. You never know. No matter how long you've been going, like I say, I'm 15 years in, and you know, I can only do what I can do today. I can't. I can't. And this year, I've had, you know, it's not about me this talk, but I've had the most. It's been an amazing. It's been a wonderful year this year in one way, but I've had the most horrendous year. And I've never been so near a breakdown as I was this year. And bearing in mind, 2 years ago, or three years ago, that I lost my business that I'd had for 30 years. And I thought that was going to be bad until I had this year come. And then you think, but it's this work. This work keeps me straight, keeps me alive. Because for a couple of hours, I go out there and I realise that I'm not important, because trouble is I start thinking I am. When people start telling me I'm important, that's the worst thing to do to me. Yeah. And then secondly, I realise that how absolutely lucky I am. The gratitude, and you showed it right at the beginning of your talk just now, the gratitude you've got only comes from sharing other people's lives, you know, and helping them through what they're going through. But I can see the love and respect you've got, but then it's because you've been there. You know.
Want to get out. Yeah.
What's that, the cat?
Yeah, scratching to go out here. I have to wait a minute. I get the most gratitude this time of year because it's freezing out there up on that light area. It's horrible, especially when you're withdrawing. The cold bites you. I cannot explain.
Yeah.
And when you've got buyers driving around with the power and control, like summing up bargaining over which kills your self-esteem even more.
Yeah.
What that does to your self-esteem, like men.
I've never thought of that.
It's horrible.
So you're saying, 50 quid, and they're going like, so you're saying I'm worth 50 quid, and then they're saying, no, 30 quid. So they're they're saying you're only worth, I'll do it, make it me maths easy for myself, 25 quid. So I'm only worth half of what I think I'm worth.
Yeah, and offering you an extra £5 to do it without condom.
Risk your life for it. Your life's worth a £5.
Yeah, so you've got all that going on. You've got the power and control.
Yeah.
When I go and do outreach and I've got the choice to go home after, that is when I've got the most gratitude. I can walk down that red light area today and I choose when I go home.
Yeah.
Powerful. And I always go back onto my old corner and say a little prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's exactly how I thought it was going to be. I knew I'd be leaving here with all the hairs on my arms standing up. But so the thing is, that you're living proof. I'm living proof that if you maybe take time to help someone else, you might help yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's the most we can do, really.
Yeah. That's why I open Christmas Day as well. What we were saying earlier, so we open Christmas Day for the women. And I don't do that first. My first thought ain't to do that for the women. I can't stand Christmas. I've had children that are adopted who I'm not in touch with. So the last thing I want to be doing is sat at home, scrolling through Facebook, looking at everyone's happy Christmas wish. So I'll get up when I go to work.
Yeah.
And help them.
Yeah.
Gratitude's an action, right?
Yeah. 100%. Well, I'm not going to take any more of your precious evening. I'm going to go and make my wife a cup of tea. You've made me feel even more she deserves one now. Putting up with me. But
oh, you're lovely. Stop it.
Thank you very much, my darling.
You're welcome.
And what we'll do, make sure you email me after. I want we're going to put all the links to these wonderful things that you do are going to go on the podcast link at the bottom. So give my love to everyone there. I'll send some goodies via our friend. Lily said it. I sent some goodies via our friend. And just send everyone my love. And thanks for giving up your evening.
No, thank you for asking me. And we'll get you in the new year.
Yeah, we'll be back. Thanks a lot.
See you later, Stu.
Bye-bye. It's just over 5 years ago. I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people, some of the people that work in some of these places. Many of them are volunteers, but some of them, it is their job. This is more than a job, this is a calling.